up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here with some Detroit Lions news. The Lions have made another re-signing, and today we have one of the biggest re-signings for the Detroit Lions this offseason. This is not a restricted free agent. This was a pretty big deal that the Lions have just made, re-signing wide receiver Josh Reynolds to a 2-year deal. So let's get it started.
The city's been down and it found a way to get up. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. We're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to a video. Glad you guys are here and you absolutely love to see it. This news has me super excited. Now, the goal of these videos is to keep them a little bit on the shorter side, to just give you guys the news. That's been the case with the Kabinda video and the Josh Woods video. But a guy like this, I'm going to keep it on the shorter side, but I want to come back with a second video to talk about why the Lions had to re-sign this guy, why it was a no-brainer that this was a re-signing for the Detroit Lions. All right, so we'll do that because I already have a lot of notes for it. I was going to do a video on why the Lions should re-sign this guy a couple days ago. We didn't do it. We did a different video. Actually, it was before the combine. That kind of threw everything off, but that's okay. So today, let's quickly talk about this re-signing for the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are reportedly re-signing wide receiver Josh Reynolds on a 2-year, up to $12 million deal. Now, we don't have the contract details on this. The most important thing, I think, is what is the cap number for this season. And there's a lot of ways you can push that down. So that doesn't necessarily mean his cap number this year is $6 million. It could be more than $6 million. I have no idea. But I'm going to guess it's going to be still lower than $6 million. They're saying up to $12 million, so I got to believe there's some incentives in there. There may even be a void year in here. I would doubt the cap hits $6 million. It is a little bit more than I anticipated, but at the same time, I think this is something that the Lions had to do. So when we get the contract details, we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about why the Lions had to re-sign him and dive into more film. Let's just enjoy the fact that the Detroit Lions re-signed their 27-year-old wide receiver. So let's talk about it a little bit. This was a receiver coming from the Tennessee Titans. He's a former Rams pick back in 2017 out of Texas A&M. So he was a Brad Holmes draft pick in round 4. We talked about that first year with Sean McVay. That was the first-year pick for them. It was Cooper Kupp, and it was Josh Reynolds. Finished up his rookie contract, and you saw last season he ended up with the Tennessee Titans on a 1-year deal. Well, because of the situation that he was in, of course, they traded for Julio Jones, and they did that after they signed him. So when they traded for Julio Jones, it was like, wow, I'm not going to have much of a role here. And he played a lot last season. So his role got very small, rarely played. It was just a situation. He didn't know it was going to be the case when he signed with the Tennessee Titans on a pretty cheap deal. We get about halfway through the season, and the Lions are going through it, right? We're going through it. We haven't won a game yet. We're really struggling offensively. And all of a sudden, coming out of this bye week, a guy named Josh Reynolds hits the waiver wire. He is released by the Tennessee Titans. And at this point, right, we're passing a trade deadline. Lions really don't have any other options. They're struggling to find help at outside receiver. Not only do they need their tackle back, which is going to happen, but they also need help at outside wide receiver, because wide receiver Quintez Cephas, who became kind of that top guy for Jared Goff on the outside specifically, he was down with an injury in week number 5. And as soon as that happened, immediately when that happened, you saw the impact. That was the away game against Minnesota. For the next few weeks, the Lions' outside passing attack was basically just not there. They tried to find it in that game with Kadero Hodge, who I thought actually kind of played okay in that game. But then after that, just was not the case. Kadero Hodge, Trinity Benson, here comes Geronimo Allison. We're trying to figure out who could help us on the outside. And the Lions just could not find someone because they kept rotating through different guys. And that led us to talking about, should the Lions go trade for a receiver, because right now they're struggling to evaluate this guy because they're stopping trusting their outside receivers at this point. And so we're running a lot of very conservative play calls. I guess you say, it was getting a lot of fans frustrated. Now, some of this was already happening, you know, because some of the offensive line and things like that, but they were getting very conservative, especially on 3rd down, where it was 3rd and +7, you're probably running the football. And then enter in Josh Reynolds. He hits the waiver. Lions haven't won a game yet, so we're first in order. We pick him up. No-brainer to do so. You knew that the chemistry was immediately going to be there. And after watching film on Josh Reynolds, because we watched it before we even picked this guy up, watching the film, I was like, yeah, there just seems to be a chemistry about these two guys. They are really on time together. All right, if you guys remember seeing that video. But then the Detroit Lions scoop him up. They pick him up. And clearly Jared Goff wanted this guy, because we were told that Jared Goff, you know, was texting Josh Reynolds, hey, they pick you up yet? You know, he wanted him on this roster. And as soon as they brought him in, it was a huge impact. They're coming out of this bye week. It was huge for the Lions. He didn't play in that first game against the Pittsburgh Steelers out of the bye week, but at that point we had Taylor Decker back, and that led to our tie. Apparently Jared Goff was also hurt in that game. We didn't have Tim Boyle healthy, so we went with Jared Goff, but we tied the game 16-16 against Pittsburgh Steelers. And we watched the film after the game. We saw some clips. We're like, okay, look, there's some pass protection here. That's exciting. We're kind of getting through reads. Now we just need this guy to play. And that goes to the next week against the Cleveland Browns. Jared Goff is dealing with that injury, so he doesn't play. We see Tim Boyle, and it's Tim Boyle and Josh Reynolds. And Josh Reynolds, it was not a very exciting debut. 3 targets, 0 receptions. Not very exciting. And the biggest one was the bomb, where it was like, what was that effort? And we get picked off. And it was not a good start for Josh Reynolds. But immediately, Jared Goff comes back, Chicago Bears, and we lose this game. Thanksgiving. You felt the impact immediately. And the biggest play that stuck out to me in that game, 3rd down and 10. Lions have it about midfield, a little bit in front of midfield, 3rd down and 10. Do they run a draw? Do they run something short to try to maybe get in long field goal range? Take the top off. Absolutely take the top off. Double moves. I mean, look, the guy's only been here for a couple weeks, right? Double move, hits the corner. Goff moved the pocket better than we saw probably up to that point, right? Avoids the sack, steps up sideways, and just fires that thing, drops it in the bucket, touchdown on 3rd and 10. It was, oh my gosh, first off, we threw it. Second off, what? Where were those shot plays? I mean, just looked so good. And he finished that game with 3 receptions on 5 targets for 70 yards. And from there on, we felt the impact. That doesn't mean he put up insane numbers every single week, but it was just having that guy on the outside. I believe it also helped open up St. Brown because we had another option. Now I get it. He's probably not the best X receiver out there, but he immediately filled that role. Being 6'3", just under 200 pounds, he immediately filled that role for the Lions. He runs just over a 4.5 40. I think it was actually lower than that at his pro day. So he's got some speed to take the top off, but it was that connection between him and Goff, which was just on the money. You could see that he immediately trusted him to get open. There was a lack of trust there with some of the other receivers, clearly. There was not that with Josh Reynolds. So you lead to Minnesota. 4 receptions, 7 targets, 69 yards. That was a win for the Detroit Lions that game. The next week that he played in was the Denver Broncos game. Lions lost this game, but he had 3 receptions on 5 targets for 52 yards. Next game, Arizona Cardinals, 6 receptions, 6 targets, 68 yards, and a touchdown. It was that deep post before half. And again, that was another one of those throws where it was like, you just trust him to be there. Another player that stuck out to me in that game was the pass from our own end zone. Lions pass from their own end zone. That was that corner route that was kind of cut off by Josh Reynolds that he went up for and he plucked it on the sideline, got us out of the hole. Then you finish off the drive with a touchdown on a post where Goff doesn't even look there. He looks you off the whole way and comes back to it. It's just that trust. You have to have that chemistry and trust with the guys to know where they're going to be. And bam, that was his best game with the Lions. Then you go to Atlanta where Goff wasn't playing, so it was Boyle, 2 receptions, 36 yards, and he finished off the season with a 1 reception, 11 yards against the Green Bay Packers. But there was just a lot of trick plays stuff going on there, and St. Brown started to eat towards the end of the year. It didn't necessarily mean that Josh Reynolds was no longer productive. We saw Khalif Raymond's production drop a little bit, right? But we didn't really see that with Josh Reynolds. It was just having that guy on the outside that we trusted to be where he was supposed to be, to get open, and that Jared Goff trusted. It was huge for the Lions. We also saw a lot of times, anytime we got to the red zone, the ball was probably going his direction. Now, we didn't always give him the best chance to catch it. You know, some of those we were kind of just throwing away from defenders, but the ball usually went his direction when we get to that spot because we also kind of needed that with TJ Hawkinson injured. In the 7 games that he was Lions, 2 touchdowns, 306 yards, 19 receptions on, according to Pro Football Reference, 36 targets. But when we talk about bring back your guys, to me, this was an example of bringing back your guys. It was a no-brainer Lions made this re-signing. And I've watched different free agents, right? I like Allen Robinson. We did a video on him yesterday. But I've watched a lot of free agent receivers at this point. And when I look at Josh Reynolds, maybe he doesn't have the name. Maybe he doesn't have the Michael Gallup name. But when you watch Josh Reynolds, you knew how impactful he was. And the dude can route run, no question about it. He would help block on the outside, and he brought a great energy to the Detroit Lions, and he was excited to be here. So who do you re-sign? Re-sign your guys that produced, that help you. And if Goff is going to be here next year, bring back the guy that he was successful with. It was a no-brainer to make this thing happen. And again, that doesn't mean he has to be a starter next year. Competition is going to come into that. But at very worst, he's a backup, and you got to have backups after what we saw last season. So now he joins Amon-Ra St. Brown. He joins Quintez Cephas as 2 of our big names that are under contract at the receiver position. This was just a must-have for the Lions. It also sort of plugs a hole a little bit because if you didn't bring back Josh Reynolds, we're clearly in search of a guy that could play the X position, right? Because Cephas can do it. We saw him do it, but he's not always the most pure route runner there. Sometimes he wins a lot of physicality. I love him on the move, and I love him at slot. I love both those roles for him, but he can play X if he needs to. But you would have had a pretty nice hole that you had to try to figure out to fill, and you would have had to fill that. Now you kind of patched it up a little bit. Still think the Lions have receiver help. We'll see what the cap hit is. I would doubt it's $6 million for this season, but this was a re-signing the Lions had to make, in my opinion. This was This was absolute money. I get he doesn't have the name of some of these other guys, but he also produced. While we talk about Taylor Decker being such a big impact of that, so was Josh Reynolds. We saw the way. Last 6 games that Jared Goff played in since the bye week, 67% completion percentage. And this includes the Steelers game, right? That was his worst statistical game without Josh Reynolds. See the stats on the right, 67% completion percentage, 11 touchdowns to 2 picks, 208 yards per game, 101.8 passer rating. As I said, you take out the Pittsburgh game and you can see the statistics were even better at that point. And sacks went down, fumbles went down. It was a night and day difference to have a guy like that. Absolutely. So this is a sign the Lions had to make. Simple as that. I mean, look, again, the price is a little bit higher than I thought, but you bring back your guys and he's only 27 years old. So it looks like at most you have him locked up to 29 years old. No issues with that whatsoever, right? This is Brad Holmes' guy too. He got him back in back in the draft, and I believe they were apparently talking about getting him before the season started. It just didn't happen because he was picked up by the Titans very early, and then they brought in Julio Jones, so his role was like, okay, where is it? But as soon as he came available, we scooped him up. It was just like a gift, you know. It was like, here you go. You guys need help. Here's Josh Reynolds, and since then, won't look back. This re-signing, we'll talk about it specifically with some film, I think, at some point. But let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this one. I'm pumped. I think this is a must-have for the Lions. Bring back your guys that earned it, that earned the contract, that helped you, that showed it on the field, that you can trust. I want a guy that I can trust on the field in the big moments, and Josh Reynolds is one of those guys. All right, now apparently around the NFL, there are a little bit of other news. Aaron Rodgers is going to be re-signed by the Packers, I've seen, on a 4-year, $200 million deal, which is just insane. I don't know what his cap number is this year because, again, that's what's important. I've heard it's going to be less than maybe it originally was for this season. I don't know exactly what that was. I don't remember. I've seen around like $45 million. If it's that, it's super expensive. All right, because on average it should be 50. I'm assuming it is going to be lower because Packers don't have that kind of cap space. Also, they're projected to tag Devontae Adams to bring him back. I've seen one where it's like he has like multiple, like 3-4 void years on there. That could be the case. They could put like 2 void years on his contract or something. I don't know. They could do a lot with Aaron Rodgers. They are locked into Devontae Adams if they tag him to about $18 million this season. So it's a ton of money between the two. Wanted to throw that out there. Again, thing with the Packers is I just don't think they're going to be better. I think they hit their peak. And you know what? I'm not mad at it. Like, yeah, okay. Having him leave the division probably could have opened things up, right? It definitely would. However, at the same time, first off, I want to go through that, you know, because there's always going to be great teams. There's always going to be obstacles. Find a way to go through that. Who knows? Maybe Love comes in and they still win the same. I doubt it. But, you know, you want to go through those teams. And, you know, that's got to be the mindset is we do us. We're going to be better than them because I definitely believe they are for sure beatable, as we saw last season. If we don't beat ourselves. Not only are they beatable, I don't think they're going to be as good as they were in the past based on their financial situation. They've already let go of Zadarius Smith, which is okay because Rashawn Gary will fill that hole. I believe they'll downgrade this offseason. And also, apparently, the Denver Broncos then didn't get him, but it looks like they may be getting Russell Wilson. They have agreed to a trade with Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks from Denver has agreed to a trade, but Russell Wilson has to approve it because he has the no trade clause. So, yeah, looks like Denver did okay. Good job, Denver. Seattle, Russell Wilson, really? Okay, wow, that works. I don't know what they got in return, but dang, okay. Hey, that will work for me. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Josh Reynolds is a Detroit Lion for the next 2 seasons. Thank you, Pride, for watching. We'll be back with another video for more longer explanation. Until then, thank you, Pride, for watching, and I'm out.